Hello, lovely people. Welcome back to another weekly. Just as a disclaimer right at the top of the show, allergies are kicking my tail. So if you see me react, that's what that is. I will do my best to fight it, but sometimes allergies are going to win no matter what you got to do. And they seem to be a problem around this time of year. So we'll go through this. This may not take too long, but I do have to call out some of this PulseChain garbage because I was surprised when I saw what was happening, and I shouldn't be, but I was. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into topics. First up, number one on here, Lunk Challenge. I originated the Lunk Challenge. The Lunk Challenge, I said, I'm going to burn cryptocurrency. I'm going to go in and say, I'll take my own money and I'll burn it because I'm proving I'm part of the community. And the sad truth is, I watched various efforts similar to this around Twitter where people said, we'll just burn our staking rewards and we'll do this. And I think even Terra Rebels tried to do a thing and it didn't work out. And like nobody's able to just say, let's come together and do it. Okay, fine. But I said, if you just do it as a challenge, and of course the specs are over here, if you just do it as a challenge, we should be able to get pretty predictable results. Now with Luna Classic, it at least has the benefit of the fact that it is, the supply is actually going down. We are seeing an appreciable movement in the supply, and that's good. Now the downside is that it's certainly going to take a while before it gets to any appreciable change. So I don't want to give you any hopium, and I'm not trying to tell you that this is going to have a significant impact on the price. I'm telling you it's something I chose to do. So the way it works is, for those new, every week I run the stats from the prior week and use these metrics in order to calculate a number. And then that gets burned. You can see on our profile on the Twitter account exactly where we do the burn. This one looks like it's about $11 rounded up-ish. So that will be burned the next time I do this exercise. And I have more Luna Classic that I just sent over there. So it's timely. So I will be doing $11, and scattering people are doing some burns of their staking rewards. Some people are doing a moonshot, I believe it's called. Sure, but moonshot seems to be quid pro, right? Of, yeah, I'll do it if I get something in return. And I don't knock the hustle, but I'd like to see more people just do it because, right? Just because of your own. I understand. Greed is a damn thing. It is what it is. So with that, that's where we're at, $11 there. Now, let's go ahead and talk about cryptocurrency price movement and the crash we recently just incurred. And I'm going to start with Ethereum. Of course, you see Ethereum has dropped below the 1200 mark, trending downward by my eyes. And I said in a past episode, I believe Ethereum is in heavy trouble. I think Bitcoin's in heavy trouble. I think Ethereum is going to breach beneath 900 as of December. And as it stands right now, I'm still holding fast to it. The level of decline, like just based on what I'm seeing in this. So if you look at this guy right here, so like here, major dip down here, recovered ever slightly, but it's like you see, it's fighting going down. It wants to go down. Now, going down isn't really a bad thing. Should be treated as a discount. But for those people that didn't expect it to go down, certainly not good news. If you look at it as a discount, it's great news because it means you can stack bags. And this may be a once in a couple of years opportunity if you believe in cryptocurrency. If you don't believe in cryptocurrency, then I'd suggest you get out if you don't believe in crypto. If you do believe in crypto, treat it as a discount, just like you would do at the store or anything else. I'm saying it really depends on you and what you see of this. I see that this has an opportunity to go well below the 900 mark leading into Q1 of 2023. Then it will rebound. Unfortunately, the rebound is not going to be a strong rebound. And what I'm saying is, don't expect this to get back up above, say, the 2,000, 3,000 mark. And you're saying that's extreme. Yeah, because that's what I see. Like again, it's fighting to go down. And if it starts reaching bottom resistance, it's going to keep going. There's a major sell-off. Part of this was triggered, by the way, by something that happened with FTX recently. Apparently, there was either a leak or just a sell-off, depending on who you ask. And they were selling Ethereum out to Bitcoin. So basically it's a dump. So it was a major dump of Ethereum that just exacerbated the situation. Well, people, when I first gave this prediction, I said, I see this guy's going way to frick down. And again, people on YouTube might emphatically disagree with me. Hopefully now you're seeing what I'm saying, that I don't see a green light anywhere in the short. I certainly don't see it by mid 2023. I see that it's going to go down. So you either freak, right, and get out now, or you treat it as a discount and stack bags. I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you what the right answer is. I can only tell you what I see, which is it is going down, and it's going to be going down for a long time. A long time. I don't see that it's going to get anywhere close to, again, the levels that we saw even in early 2021. I don't see that we're going to get to those levels. So now when you take a look at Bitcoin's in 16.5. It is also trending in a downward direction. If I look at just the week chart, had this super major dip, rebounded up. But if you look, it's again fighting. It's fighting to go down. It wants to go down. And I theorize that it's likely going to go down because of this. Because if I look at then the overall pattern of a thing, it's downward. It's heading down. This is my theory. This is my statement because it's my show. Every other person can emphatically disagree with me and tell you that it's going to go to the moon, and that's great. I'm just putting it out there, and I'm on video, which is I'm on record. And if I get it right, I just want to come back and get my credit. That's all I ask. If I get it right, I don't know that I'm right, but I'm looking at the graph and it tells me this thing is about to crash out. Now, Bitcoin is unique because it seems to be en route to breaching down as far as somewhere beneath 10,000. And certain people call me absolutely insane. Great. Let time pass. Let's test me because I'm just putting it on record of what I think based on what I see in the graph. I think it's going it's going to fight down before we get to a level of comfort and it starts to go back up. When it starts to go back up, at this point, I don't even see we're going to recoup this level. You're going to say I'm nuts. Great. I'm just putting it on record. I'm putting it on video. And I hope I'm wrong. I truly hope I'm wrong. And sentiment is playing a lot of factor in this. I think all this dump out with FTX is playing a lot of factor in this. I think there's a lot of things playing into factor. I'm just saying from what I see today, right now, in the graph I'm looking at, I am heavily concerned of the velocity of Bitcoin. And I don't know. I know what's high level causing it. I don't know what's causing it to be so bad. And I don't know why we wouldn't see higher. Like I would expect a gradual decline, but not this. This here, this is between April, essentially, and June, mid-June. Between April and mid-June, it cut by half. That's where I'm getting my estimate from. It's like, well, if we went from April and in 2 months, it crapped greater than half, to me, that means the velocity is high, headed downward. And I don't see enough buy pressure to offset it. And that tells me that either there are people sitting back waiting for discounts, they're waiting for it to bottom, and they don't see the bottom like I don't see the bottom. And so they're waiting. So if they're waiting, that means they're not buying. If they're not buying, it's just goes, right? Well, people holding it, kind of going like that, they're not really happy unless they're the ones that stack more bags. Because if I'm right, let's say it does go to, I don't know, $8,000, and that's extreme, but let's say I do $8,000, and you can get one for $8,000, and the inverse prediction is correct, which is it goes to 6 figures. For some person, that might be life-changing. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm saying that if somebody did, they might be willing to roll those dice and win big, which is what happened prior to 2021 when Bitcoin went on its meteoric rise. Bitcoin at that point was lower even, and then it just started jumping. Remember, there was times when Bitcoin was like $2 per. Okay, so it's not unheard of. It's just the level of decline is unusual because you would expect that by now people would have been buying dips to kind of offset it to where I don't see as rapid of a decline. It's not that it's declining. I have no problem with the decline. I'm saying the level of decline is a bit disconcerting because I'm not really sure exactly where it's coming from. I don't, for me anyway. So that's my prediction. We'll see if I get it right or I get it wrong. I'm just calling it like I see it as it stands. So Lilly Finance, if you have not been following Lilly Finance, that's fine. It's fine if you're not aware. It's fine if you weren't following it because there's a lot to know. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to be aware of with Lilly. All I did before was I talked about the fact that, the guy, Brad, I believe it is, behind Lilly Finance, there was a lot of misinformation floating around, largely spurred by his, I would argue, scorned ex-wife, where people were presenting that he was basically a scam artist. He has a criminal record. This is fact. It's on record. However, they said he made statements about his kid that were not true, right? Lilly Finance, fast forward, they've done a lot in order to legitimize the business and turn it into something. And what that's done is it's caused some pumps very recently. And these pumps lent themselves to significant profit. Earlier, which would have been right around here-ish, it went about 3x. You see this jump up here, it went about 3x. Just recently, it went about 2x, depending on what you're in. Some people are gamblers to the nth degree because Lilly Finance has a significant inventory. It has a lot of tokens. Now, that's pros and cons. One, there's a lot to buy, and there's not a lot of holders. So there's a lot of opportunity, but it's a great risk. Number one, because it seems like every time there's a run, there's a dump every single time. So timing becomes critical with Lilly Finance because you can never know when the dump's going to happen because of the supply, because of the low holders and the low liquidity. It means it has a high propensity of dumping steep, and the higher it goes, the greater the crash, which I talked about with the garbage of LockPay, etc. All tokens work the same. However, if you're the gambler, you made a lot of money on Lilly Finance because of these recent run-ups that they had. Well, it turns out that Lilly Finance is apparently, and I don't know this factually, but this is what was announced, apparently going to be getting on a tier 1 exchange here in the near future. If they do, you're going to see the volume start to skyrocket because the word is out about Lilly Finance. Number one, it does not look like Lilly Finance has a burn mechanic. If it does, I'd love to be corrected in the comments below or cryptotalkradio.net. But it does not look like they have a burn mechanic. I think that's going to hurt them because I think the supply is just too dang high, in my personal opinion. But you'll get higher volumes, at least for the short term. And that means people are going to make profits, at least in the short term. When the bots start to arbitrage it, then I think it'll die off a little bit, stable out, get calmer, everything's kind of cooler. But up front, I do see that there's going to be more run-ups if it's true that it gets on a tier 1 exchange. Then it depends on which tier 1 exchange. Do I think it's Coinbase? No, but maybe. I don't think so. Do I think it's Binance? No, but maybe. I don't know. The other signature part of this is that if Lilly Finance is able to get on tier 1 exchanges faster than Saitama, where Lilly Finance wouldn't even exist if it hadn't been for Saitama at one point, I think it's kind of a interesting dichotomy there, right? That the child token surpasses the master, and the master fails where the child succeeds. Remember, Lilly was abused. Lilly, when it launched, got abused by the Dell rug pull, aka Dell Crypto of the world and everybody else. They abused this guy. They abused it and wrecked a lot of people. And then if it's able to thrive, regardless of what it's gone through, I think that's huge. The Lilly Foundation, which is a separate entity, has already been doing substantial things in order to legitimize it. So I don't have any concerns long-term about their success. And I watch it from a distance because I'm intrigued and truly interested in what they've got planned for the future and where they're going to go as an organization. One thing that I would caution anybody in the Lilly ecosystem today is part of the problem is that success seems to come hand step with toxicity, as Saitama learned. Saitama also had crazy pumps, and then the failed November 13th Vegas event happened. But before that, everybody was all smiles. Everybody was all cheering and yay. And certain people didn't sell for profit, despite people telling them to. And certain other people criticized Leicester when I told them there were concerns. I got some concerns here, and I think this is going to be a problem. Nobody listened, didn't give my credit. I My concern here, my only statement would be the Lilly overall, the eco, the community, the team, everybody needs to be careful not to repeat the mistakes of the Saitama ecosystem, which is do not invite toxicity in your community. Do not welcome it. Do not celebrate it. Focus on the project, not a person. So far, Lilly Finance has done a good job of this as far as I can see. Now, I'm not in their telescam and don't plan to be. Point is, I'm just putting a statement out there. If you can keep the toxicity out of there, if you can keep it a good community, if you can keep doing good for the children that need the aid, if you can keep the messaging on point, if you can stay the course, I do believe this one has a very strong probability of far surpassing the project that came before it. And I think that's amazing. I do. And it's a great story to tell because it'll be one of the few projects that's been able to do that in a very long time. So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you to keep an eye on Lilly Finance and see if they're able to stay the course and keep toxicity out, keep good people in the community, keep everything on the level, keep everything, the momentum that they've got. Understand though, it's going to have extreme dips because of that freaking supply. The supply is too high and the holder count's too low. Until that ratio gets a little bit more balanced, you're going to see this extreme stuff for the foreseeable future. I do think that if they can get more holders, see, like if you look at the graph here, this is what I'm talking about. Here's when it launched and when Dell Crypto, aka Dell Rug Pull, got involved and screwed it. And it was way down here. It's still way down there. Now, if you zoom in, yes, it's got a little bit, but overall, it's nowhere close to its potential, which is kind of up here. Now, the price is kind of out of whack because of what happened with the liquidity. I'm not suggesting it hits $5,000. Never. With the supply it's got, absolutely not. I am saying that it's got potential. The momentum and the potential are huge of upward with Lilly Finance over the long term. We're talking years out, and they got to stay the course, and they got to keep the community in check, and don't make the mistakes of Saitama. And if they can do all that, I think it's a good spot. My gut, though, tells me that at some point we're going to see a Lilly V2, and that's going to have a constrained supply as opposed to extended supply. They'll probably drop off with a couple of zeros. That's my gut speaking. I can get it wrong, and maybe they're fine with it as is. I just think that the current supply creates too much volatility. And when you have volatility, it makes people nervous because they see significant red dips, and they don't know. Like there's on CoinMarketCap, there's all sorts of people claiming that Brad and the other devs are just dumping out the project like this business here. No proof of it. It's just because the supply is so, that's what I want people to understand. When your supply is way the heck up here and your liquidity is way the heck down here, that ratio, it's going to have those zigzag type of events. That's not evidence of any dev dip. And I would be shocked, frankly, if the devs were selling, maybe, but I'd be shocked. I think really what's happening is you just have too much freaking supply. And with too much freaking supply, it's causing significant volatility that gives it the illusion of a pump and dump. That's what I see anyway. The money flowing into this looks legit. I've looked at it. They're all decentralized trades. I believe Uniswap. And so I don't see anything sketchy or shady from what I see. It just seems like right now it's one of those, bubbles waiting to pop, as in this has a run up potential. And then it's going to start arbitrage when people get bots involved, because when they launch, that exchange, I guarantee you, is going to encourage people, put bots on it, and that's arbitrage. And now you're going to see more volatility, all because of the supply. So my gut tells me they're going to go to a V2 with a constrained supply, and then do a distribution, just like many other tokens that had supplies like this. That's my gut. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but maybe I am. Who knows? So I would say I'm tentatively bullish on Lilly Finance. I wouldn't say that I'm greatly bullish on it, but I am going to say I think there's something there. I think it's going to be something in the future. I think the supply is the only thing that holds it back, being honest. And they got to keep toxicity out of their freaking community. Biggest statement I could ever make. Now, if you've been watching, listening, or even paying attention to anything at all, you may or may not have seen that there was some chatter around Twitter world around PulseChain /Hex/Richard Hart, and to a lesser degree, Pulse Dogecoin. There are actually good people in the community for PulseChain. Some of them have reached out to the show. Some of them have said, we share your videos because you're not the, let's fucking go to the moon. You don't do that. So we share your videos, good analysis. You're very down to earth. I appreciate it and I appreciate them. What I'm about to share, watch me. What I'm about to share is not anything negative of the community. It is around a very specific set of the community, AKA the Shillers, who are overly hyping and overrating it, and certain people who are effectively lying to that community. That's who I'm talking to when I say this next. So don't take this as any attack to the community, because I think there are good people in the community. There's toxicity, but I would argue there's good people there too. If you didn't know, FYI, the SEC, they're going after influencers, AKA Shillers, who were talking about PulseChain and Hex, PulseX, which is a sacrifice business, mostly around all the hype, right? There was hype around the blockchain's going to come and it's going to be a copy of Ethereum and it's the world's largest airdrop and Hex, this coin over here and it's going to make people rich and all that. And there were so many Shillers out there that were pitching everything PulseChain, Hex, and then Pulse Dogecoin, which I actually every now and then get people in the chat or in the comments and they'll talk about how great Pulse Dogecoin is. It's going to go to hundreds of dollars and all this. And I said, I don't buy Pulse Dogecoin because it's trying to hook into PulseChain, which doesn't exist yet. I got questions that said, how come you haven't talked about PulseChain? How come you haven't talked about Hex? This is why. Because it felt like you guys are putting yourself in some major risk with some of the claims you're making around what you're saying is going to be the truth, this world's largest airdrop, and you're going to be a millionaire and all that. Based on what? And it was basically based on the fact it's a fork, right, of the Ethereum chain, but there's more to that. Where's the money going to come from? Well, then there's the sacrifice, right? Sacrifice, you sell the liquidity, and I got it. But many of the claims that many of these YouTubers were making was quite lofty, to the point that I was skeptical that any of it was going to pan true. Didn't say it wasn't. I said I'm skeptical, as in I'm going to just sit back, marinate in the cut, and just watch this business. And I'm not going to cover it until it's out and I can watch it, because everything to me is a long play. I don't trust any of these lofty claims, especially, and I said, if it's getting excessive hype on social media like these were, I'm less likely to cover it. This is the kind of stuff. Why? Well, so this comes out and they're saying, yep, they're going after the Shillers basically, and they're subpoenaed for their records and for their docs. And then it was brilliant, right? So here's what was circulating around. Basically, a copy of the letter came from the SEC that basically says, you got some information, we're doing an investigation, and we want to see your documentation, back and forth, we want docs about banking, docs about crypto, docs about financials, any contracts. So here's where this gets really deep. If you're an influencer and you know what the heck you're doing, almost cussed right there, you should be signing contracts with whoever you're going to shill. And the contract should call out how much they're going to pay you and why and what you're going to talk about and the terms of the agreement. So, for example, they might say, okay, for a 5-minute coverage of the thing, we're going to pay you $250,000, like Kim Kardashian when she was selling ass for Ethereum Max, that kind of thing, right? And there's usually a contract for this. What I found, kind of accidentally, is that many of these influencers don't bother with a contract. What they do is they go to Telescam. And in Telescam, they just go to the DMs or PMs or whatever Telescam calls it, and they just have a soft agreement with emojis. That's, yeah, it's all good. Doop, doop, doop. There's no real formality. There's no real contract. Trust me, I'll get to why I thought this was hilarious in a second. So the SEC apparently wants all that. They want all that smoke, right? Here's information from Hex News. Hex News is a Telescam chat that describes all things. Says Hex, but it's really around PulseChain, Hex, and everything else. Well, look at what it says. Quote, Telescam is best used with secret chats and auto-destruct timers turned on. So, in an old video, I said that Telescam, what it allows people to do is basically delete their tracks and scam you and hide all evidence of what happened, and you can't recover it. That's what it does. That's why some of these shady, scummy MFers, almost cussed, like Telescam, because it lets them cover their tracks. It's also the reason why I didn't get involved with the Libero ecosystem, because I was going to force them to document our agreement two-way. I was going to go to Telescam, sorry. So looking at this, right, quote, secret chats in Telescam can't be read on your computer. They only work on mobile. That's not true, by the way. By the way, quote, it's nice to know that hackers can't ever access your message history if they crack a telescam server. Not your keys, not your coin. So here's what they're saying. Here's what they're implying. Here's what they're basically putting themselves out saying. We want to use telescam because it lets you cover your tracks. It lets you delete all evidence of a thing and stay safe, right? So you want to be private. Well, if that's their motivation, right, is privacy. Are they trying to be private because they think they're doing something shady and they might get caught and they might get locked up? Or are they trying to keep it private because it's legal, but ultimately it's not somebody's business, right? So if I were, let's say, I wanted to hire 5 women to work for me and they're working for me, but there's still 5 women. And so there could be this illusion that some shady stuff's going on, like SBF up over in the F house in the Bahamas kind of thing. Maybe I want to kind of keep down the wraps of the fact that they are women, because it doesn't really matter for the purpose of the transaction that they're women, but maybe that's just who was qualified. Maybe that's all who applied, but I don't want to put it out that 5 women are about to start working for me, because certain people on social media might spin that to say he's building up a harem. No, might be that that's all there was. And then nobody believes me and nobody believes them. Okay, I can buy that. They're just flat out saying, no, let's use telescam because we can hide our tracks. Richard Hart himself comes out, quote, do you accept the good advice you're given? You think you do, but do you really? Are you using secret chats with self-destruct timers? Are you a slow learner? Is it hard for you to click buttons? Do you understand what he's implying here? What he's implying here is everything that we're talking about doing, everything that we're implying or discussing should not be kept. Should not be kept on a regular basis, shouldn't be kept on a permanent basis. Discard it once you're done. Don't have a paper trail. Don't have an audit trail. Now, here's where I'm going to give my opinion. And again, this is not about the community individuals. I think some of you are good people. But here's what it is. You got 2 sides of this. There's the side of the person who's the investor who really needs to protect their investment. Then there's the person who's behind whatever investment. What Richard Hart is implying here is just trust me, as all of them do. All of them want you to trust them implicitly and don't have a paper trail, don't have an audit trail, don't have anything to cover your ass, frankly. That's what he's implying here. If you're okay with that, I celebrate you, I respect you, whatever you want to do. You've heard me frequently say, I'm going to check your website. I'm going to hold you hostage, frankly, with what you say on your website. I'm going to look at your white paper. I'm going to record what you said in your white paper. I'm going to keep a copy of it. That's why it needs to be a PDF and not the garbage Git book, because I actually hold a paper trail. If the government's going to come down on cryptocurrency projects, they're less likely to go after the investor and more likely to go after the project. So what does that mean? That means that you holding a cryptocurrency, your greatest risk is that it becomes valueless, that you lose all value because the project was crap and then the government came down on it. Not that they're going to lock you up because you hold it. Because if that project told you something in good faith and it turned out not to be true, which actually happened with Celsius, they told people, yeah, your stuff's FDIC insured, which was never the case. And if you were to hold your assets there in good faith based on that statement, the government's not going to come after you. They're going to go after Celsius. Then they're going to try to get money out of Celsius to try to make you whole. Here's the thing. If you don't have proof of what you gave, how can you be made whole? You can't prove your losses. So for me, as a personal opinion, I want a paper trail. I want to know what it is that I'm agreeing to. I want a document trail of what I give somebody and why. I want evidence of what they promised when I got in it. And I want to watch it and prove it out. So if something bad happens, I can come back after them. Now, I've been fortunate. I've only ever had one project that went to I would argue, a total loss, and that was parabolic, and I didn't have much in it at the time. It's the only one that was a total loss. Even EarnHub, which catastrophically failed because the devs were incompetent, triggered idiots, they still did what they could to distribute what was left. And then unfortunately, they gave you a token that was crap itself, which was Scary Chain Capital token. And then that one crapped, not through it failure, just it crapped financially. Other than that, I've never had a project that just completely zeroed out, with nothing to show for it. Everything else has been kind of like I put $1 here and just watch the price. Okay. If I lose $1, I lose $1. But I've never had one that I lost significant amounts. Losses for me would be I invest in something and then I sell at a loss because I see it's about to crap completely. So I might lose 30% of value before it goes. Take the same money, put it in something else, and eventually that 100% of value gets zero, but it's not due to any one project failing. It's, I see it's about to, and I'll take out, and I might have a 30% loss. You might wonder why I sell when it's a loss. It's because if I see it's en route to a total loss, I'd rather recoup as much as I can. And I've never had a situation where I've sold off at a loss and it turned out to be something greater on the tail end. Every single one that I've done that for crapped, or at least to the point never recovered. Like Kiba, great example of that one. Dumped out of it, it's never recovered because they got rid of the reflections, and I think that hurt sentiment like I covered on the show. So then the responses, when Richard Hart does this and the letter comes out, and this is the reason for my thumbnail, the responses now were basically from the community saying, you know, quote, Harris, quote, old news, the letters are fake, quote, this is debunked as fake, quote, do your search again, fake news, quote, documents are fake, I think the Joker sent them out, Of course, it kept going because, quote, phishing scam, quote, fake, quote, LOL, you have no clue, quote, as fake as you are. Kept going because then Richard Hart sends out Chilling Effects. If you don't know what Chilling Effects is a site. What happens with Chilling Effects is whenever there's something that happens where there's going to be a violation of you or violation of your rights, a violation of your privacy, something else, it's reported Chilling Effects. And you can go see Chilling Effects, I think it's chillingeffects.org, and you can see all the history of all these. Well, the reason he's sending this out is it's a fallacy. What he's doing is he's playing on your fears. So it's an appeal to fear fallacy to say, ultimately what's happening here is there are questions being asked, but they're doing it in order to expose information, not because there's anything legit on it. But the thing is, the letter's legit. So just FYI, the letter's actually legitimate. What he's saying is still fair because it is a chilling effect, because there is a discovery, threat of a lawsuit. This is a real thing. I'm saying that his motivations for sending it are disingenuous because it's an appeal to fear. The investors shouldn't be afraid. The influencers, the Shillers, they're the ones who got to be afraid. Here he goes repeating that garbage again. And again, he's appealing to people's fear by telling them you should be destroying records, and if you're not, you're an idiot. Okay? So then people start going further, and then there's people from the SEC that said, no, that's an SEC letter, all right. Here, this guy, this idiot or lady, whatever, is basically trying to identify contradictions. They're trying to identify contradictions in the printed letter versus regular information. Hey, fake building being used, fake news, try again because they said the letter doesn't match the address. Let me educate people. The government uses multiple addresses for mail correspondence. It doesn't necessarily have to come from the actual building where somebody's sitting. It could be a P.O. box. Sometimes it's a different state. If you didn't understand, I'm assuming people don't file their own taxes because the IRS does the same thing. The IRS is actually in every state. And so your filing goes to the IRS that's in your state, that's close to you logistically. But it could come from anywhere. Correspondence from the IRS could come from anywhere. So you could be in California and get correspondence from the IRS from Texas. That's normal. So trying to use the address discrepancy is a fallacy, especially when this person, Angela Merkel, gave the actual web address where you can confirm the address on the letter is a valid address for the SEC when they are sending out letters. Now, it turns out that the address in question happens to centralize around whistleblower complaints. That means that whatever's going on with the SEC's investigation came due to a whistleblower who's trying to come out and divulge something. I don't know what the something is. Point is, the letter is legit, the address is legit, and trying to debunk the address, like it kept going on and on and on. Everybody trying to claim it's fake, everybody claim it's not real. No, it's a real freaking letter. And people don't understand different addresses is not evidence of a thing. And if you are still concerned, you can contact the SEC and they'll confirm at least that the letter is legit. They may not confirm any other details, but they can confirm the letter is legit. Well, here's another one. Said, well, it's a UPS packet. It arrived while I was away. LOL doesn't mean anything because ultimately, once you get served anything from the SEC, it doesn't matter how they send it. What somebody else said, well, it should be the post office, right? It depends. Depends on location, depends on the type of service, depends on anything. And they can choose the courier. It doesn't really have to be USPS. It depends on the nature of the service. Times when they want to use, let's say, UPS, more often than not is around the address, around the location, or around the certification they're trying to get. But more often than not, it's around the location. If they believe that UPS has the greatest probability to get it there or the least amount of cost to do it, they'll use UPS. Not a big deal, not evidence of anything. So there was a lot of deflections, right? Deflections of people just wanting to believe it's fake. After all this fiasco, after people are trying to tell them, this is real, man, this is legit, now there's a freak out. And this is where apparently, I wasn't there, in Telescam, they were telling people how to delete documents, delete records. If you're in the ecosystem, I'll tell you this straight up. If you're not an influencer, you got nothing to worry about. I'm telling you that. If you are an influencer, you probably have stuff to worry about, right? But I'm going to recommend that you do not delete anything of a nature correspondence, either with PulseChain or otherwise. I'm going to recommend that you don't, because if you do, they're going to find out that you did. And it's going to be worse for you if you go off deleting stuff that you weren't supposed to be deleting and they find it out. Because guess what? You guys aren't Hillary Clinton. They're not going to give you a free pass. If there was something with you and they have your name, they already know what the correspondence was. So it behooves you, and you are free to ignore Leicester at cryptotalkradio.net. You're free to ignore them. It behooves you not to delete anything you got, because if you do, they're going to find out, and it's going to be a hell of a lot worse to you. It's up to you, people. But just so you know, everybody else, that's why I haven't done anything on PulseChain, Hex, Pulse, Doge, none, because I needed time to pass. It's like not enough time has passed. I don't know what this is. I'm not confident in it. Seems rather lofty, and we'll just watch it, and see what happens. And I did a small sacrifice of worthless tokens because I wanted to prove it out. Like, these are worthless tokens, take them, whatever, and just see what happens on the back end if it turns into a thing. And if it doesn't, they're worthless tokens. Who cares? So we'll have to see what happens here. Maybe a quote, nothing burger. I don't know. But I think it's intriguing that the whole community refused to acknowledge a properly vetted letter asking for information from influencers. And my guess is that many of these influencers won't learn their lesson about why they should not be going in with these freaking jokers like this into these shady deals, possibly putting people's money at risk. But they can feel free to ignore me all they care to. And by the way, the idiot neighbors are outdoors, and apparently they don't care that it's like 59 degrees outside. So you may hear the occasional brat screaming. I apologize for that. Nothing I can really do about it. It's fine, though, because I got one last topic. And this is more just for awareness than anything else. I briefly talked about the Libra miner. It said it's crap and it's basically a failure and it's losing money. It still is all of what I said. I did not and will not cover the BNB Garden because I think it's I don't want to say scam, but I think it's garbage. But I am going to talk about the THOREUM Miner because I have a bullish, I'll say soft bullish sentiment about the THOREUM BNB miner, not because of the miner itself, but because of BNB. In my predictions for BNB, I believe of all of the different coins that are out there, and this is kind of shifted because BNB is still not paired, but it's tied to Ethereum in price movement. I think BNB has the greatest potential for a rebound. I also think BNB has the greatest upside long term. And I believe any opportunity to stack BNB is an opportunity possibly to, if nothing else, double what you have. Ethereum is going to struggle, in my opinion, to get back that much of a gain. But I think BNB still has the opportunity, mostly because it's deflationary, but also because of the projects that are on there. So with THOREUM BNB, because it gives you, first of all, the THOREUM token is not wrapped, so it doesn't have the same issue as Libra. It's just a straight token. Second, it's paired to BNB. So as BNB goes up, the value of this is going to go up, and it's not harmed by the fact that Thorium's there. Thorium's going to go down, but not to the degree that Libra does, because Libra it's a crapping token. It's 50% of it, and then it's paired to BNB, which is going down. But even if BNB was going up, you still have this crapping token in Libero. So it feels like Libera Miner can never get you past the threshold, and it's actually insolvent. If you look at the graphs at the bottom that they have, you can see that here it's reasonably stable for the most part and on an upward trend. On the Libera Miner, it's actually crapping. It's going down, meaning more people are cashing out than are paying in. And the number of people that are in it is decreasing, whereas Thorium, it seems like the number is increasing in terms of people getting in it, and it seems in a very healthy state overall with the pool balance versus deposit, from what I can tell. So number one, it feels like it's healthier financially. Two, because it's paired to BNB and gives you BNB as opposed to Binance USD. Binance USD is stable, but you get less of it. BNB is not stable. You get a small amount, but it's not stable, but it has positive price trend potential in the future. The other thing is, like I called out before, you get more lottery tickets, at least for now, for being in the Thorium Miner than you do on the Libera one. Okay, well, given that, that means you have a higher probability of getting something with a small investment on it. I honestly believe that the Thorium BNB Miner was way better built than the Libera Miner. I don't know why they thought that made any sense. The only thing I don't like about both, they dropped the percentage for the win it now. So it used to be, I believe that was 200, and then it was 300%. They probably did that because it's draining money. Thorium's not draining money. They probably were anticipating that it would start draining money. But I believe, and my statement is, I believe the Thorium Miner has the greatest long-term potential of the two. I'm, again, not going to cover the BNB Garden because I think that's another shiny. That's garbage. There are people clearly that are interested in it. It's not something I'm going to cover because I don't think they should have started it. I think they should have killed off Libera Miner, moved those people to Thorium, given them the equivalent there, and just go only Thorium for the purposes of Miner. Then take the time to fix Libero, figure out Libera, but get away from the Miner on the Libero side. That's what I think they should have done. On the F Libero side, then, the F Libero has not moved to F Libera, and we're months out now. I don't know why, but the volume is now near zero, so you're not getting any profit off of it, hardly any, which is unfortunate because F Libero was always going to be still profitable. So I don't know what they're doing on this ecosystem, frankly, and I have not dug deeper in because it feels like they're just spitballing. They're throwing stuff at the wall and hoping stuff sticks and people are popular to try to hold the line. But I mean, at some point, they're going to run out of money to be able to do that. And I also heard in Telescam, I wasn't there, but apparently the devs are incognito, like they're not responsive, they're not talking, they're not doing something. And then I heard that the mods are banning people because they have to for FUD, but the devs are nowhere to be seen. But yet they rolled out this BNB Garden garbage. So I don't know. And there's two of them. So they're there. They're clearly there, but they're apparently not responsive. I consider that a red flag. Anyhow, I'm going to shut up now and see if there's any questions from the gallery before I wrap up, because I don't want to hear those kids coming through the microphone. And meanwhile, I'll check Twitch. And Twitch is good to go. So anybody have any questions, comments, or anything else for me before I wrap up here today? Excelente. Like I said before, if something comes up to you, feel free to leave them in the comments below. They are screened because of various types of spammers, but I will review them and then release them after I get a response put out for you. If we're here live, thank you for dialing in. If you see this after the fact, thank you for checking it out. We will be back again next week for another Lunk Challenge burn, and then more interesting topics are coming. Trust me. I'm trying my best, by the way, to avoid talking about FTX because it's a rabbit hole that doesn't seem to stop, and I don't want to dominate all episode with FTX stuff. It feels like it's never going to end, and I don't like it. So for now, I'm going to try my best to dance around it as good as I can, but I can't make any promises. Side note that YouTube swears there's something wrong with the stream. I won't know until after the fact, so I'm going to review it. And if there happens to be something, then it'll be corrected before it gets uploaded to the final. But from what I could tell, everything is fine, but YouTube's squawking. So if you do see something, I apologize, but I don't see where that's coming from. In any event, I'll see you guys next week. Please, by the way, don't YOLO in the garbage, please. Make sure you take care of your people first. Take care of keep a roof over your head. This is going to pass, but it's going to take longer for it to pass from my perspective. And others can swear I'm a nutcase, and that's great. Time will tell whether I get it right or wrong. All I ever say, if I get it wrong, you come back and get my credit for trying to warn people and keep people safe. And I will see you guys next week.